Pinocchio, Part 7, Home and Dry. Pinocchio was in such a hurry to escape from Playland and the drum maker that he swam far after sea until all could be seen was a tiny black speck on the horizon. He was so happy to be free that every now and then he swung his legs out of the water and waggled them above the surface, like a dolphin's tail. He swam for hours, not really caring which way he went. Then suddenly, he glimpsed a strange sight. Towering up to the waist was a rock of pure white marble, and on the top stood a beautiful little goat, which was bleating to him in a very friendly way and nodding excitedly. Most surprising of all, the goat's hair was blue, and Pinocchio realized that it was not a normal goat at all, but his good fairy in disguise come to rescue him again. His heart began beating at twice as usual rate, and he swam toward the goat with all his strength. But before he was halfway to the marble rock, a huge monster shark reared up out of the water. Pinocchio felt himself drawn and helpless as though his passive mouth and his 3 rows of enormous jagged teeth. Just think of Pinocchio's terror. He struggled to change direction. He cried piteously for help, and the blue goat called out, "Swim quickly, Pinocchio! The shark will get you!" But it was already too late. Gigantic jaws closed around the wriggling puppet, and everything went dark. Pinocchio felt himself sliding down the monster's throat into his vast stomach. And then he blacked out. When Pinocchio came to, he was terribly scared. It was very dark and eerily silent. From time to time there was a strange rasping voice, and great gusts of wind blew into his face. It was the shark breathing. Poor Pinocchio felt so lost and alone that he cried and screamed, "Help! Help! Save me! Someone will save me!" And after the gloom came a low voice. "No one will save you, unhappily. You can do nothing but wait to be digested." Who's that?" stammered Pinocchio, shaking with fear. "It is I, a pure cuttlefish, who was swallowed by the shark just before you. But I do not cry or yell. I am a philosopher. I count myself lucky to be eaten by fish, and not by humans." "But I don't want to be eaten at all," cried Puppet. "I want to escape. How big is the shark, and where's the way out?" "There is no way out," replied the tune voice of the blue. "The shark is a mile long, and that's not counting his tail." Left alone with the tuna, Pinocchio might have given up hope. But while he was talking, he saw a tiny light twinkling in the distance. So, saying goodbye, he groped his way along the body of the shark. It took a long time for him to reach the figuring light, but when he finally arrived, he could hardly believe his eyes. He found a little old man with a long white beard, sitting at a table with a lighted candle stuck into a bottle. And who do you think the old man was? Yes, it was Geppetto, the woodcarver, Pinocchio's own dear father. The puppet was overcome with joy. "Oh, Daddy, Daddy, I found you at last after all this time!" And he did not whether to laugh or cry at the almost astonished face. "Do my old smile deceive me? Is it really you, Pinocchio? I thought I'd lost you forever." And he hugged his son as if he would never let go. "I've been on this shark for 2 years, since that fateful day when I set to sail in my little boat. I saw the white dump leaving on the beach, and tried hard to return to shore, but the waves blew up and hurled me to the shark. But how you survived, Daddy?" "In that same dreadful storm, the merchant ship was wrecked, and the shark swallowed all its cargo. But these 2 years had lived off the ship's supplies: corned beef, biscuits, cheese, and sugar. And there were even bottles of wine. But now I have nothing left. This is the very last candle. Hearing this, Pinocchio was more determined than ever to escape. Taking the candle in one hand, he led his poor father off into the darkness. For more than an hour, they struggled along the belly of the shark, until they arrived at the back of the monster's mouth. Peering through beyond the jagged teeth, they could see the bright moon and the starry sky. The shark was fast asleep, with his mouth wide open. "Quick, Daddy! We must get out before the monster wakes!" And as the shark, snoring, thundered in their ears, they climbed silently along its tongue, across its rows of teeth, and out onto his giant lip. Then Pinocchio took Geppetto on his shoulders, leapt into the water, and swam away. The sea was calm and silent, and the shark was still sleeping like a log. Pinocchio swam for hours, carrying his poor father, and could not hum a stroke. When dawn broke, the puppet was getting very tired, and there was still no sign of land. Then, just as he felt he could move his arms and legs no more, he heard a familiar voice. "No need to panic. I will have you on dry land in a few minutes." It was the tuna. And as Pinocchio and Geppetto climbed thankfully onto his back, he explained how he could follow their example and escape from the snoring shark. The awful dangers were finally over. The tuna left them safely on the sandy beach, and Pinocchio thanked him again and again. Then the puppet and his father walked slowly in the land looking for food and shelter. They had not gone far when they met two creatures begging by the roadside. They were the fox and the cat, who had fallen at hard times. The fox really had gone lame, and the cat really gone blind. "Dear Pinocchio," whined the fox, "give a little charity to the needy." "Yes, my dear boy," pleaded the cat, "do help the aged in and fur." But Pinocchio and Geppetto ignored the wicked pair. "If you are poor now, you deserve it. You won't catch me out again." On they went, and a little further down the road they saw a pretty little cottage in the middle of the field. They walked across and knocked at the door. "Turn the key and the door will open," came a voice from inside. So in they went, and there, high up on a beam, was the talking cricket. "Oh, my dear little cricket, how nice to see you," said Pinocchio, bowing politely. "So, dear little cricket, is it? You didn't say that when you threw a mallet at me. You had no pity for me, but I will have pity on you. Just you remember from now, it pays to be kind to people when you can." And the cricket told Pinocchio that he'd been given the cottage the day before by a beautiful blue-headed goat, who'd gone away bleating in sorrow about a puppet that'd been swallowed by the shark. Deeply moved and determined to be good, the puppet helped his tired father to lie down on the bed of straw. They went off in search of milk for him to drink. The nearby father offered him a jug, but only at a price. Pinocchio had to do hours of back-breaking labor, drawing 100 buckets of water from the well to pay for the milk. "Until now I had a donkey to do this work," said the farmer. "I bought him a few months ago at the market, but he was a lazy devil, always trying to dodge off. Then he fell sick, and now he's dying over there in the stable." When Pinocchio ran over to look, he was amazed, but there, lying stretched out in the straw, was his old friend Candlewick. The poor sick donkey opened his eyes for the last time, gave a deep groaning sigh, and died. From then on, for many months, Pinocchio worked for the farmer every day from early to dusk to buy milk for his father and earn a few extra pennies for the daily meals. He'd learned to weave baskets from reeds, and whenever he could, he practiced reading and writing. He worked so hard that after 6 months, he'd managed to save up 50 pence. So the next morning, he set up for the market to buy himself a new shirt. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining and the birds were singing in the trees. The puppet was scampering along merrily, that all at once he saw a big snail called out to him, Pinocchio! Stop! It was the fairy snail, who had taken so long to let the piper into her house the evening after he'd been caught by the angry fisherman. My beautiful snail, what are you doing here? Do you know where the fairy is? Oh, Pinocchio, the poor fairy is very ill in hospital, and she is likely to die. She has no money left to buy herself food. At once the puppet snatched the 50 pence from his pocket and gave the coins to the snail. Quickly, take this money to the fairy. I don't need a new shirt. These rags are enough for me. Without another word, the snail raced off at high speed, and quite unlike her normal self. Pinocchio went straight back to the cottage and started work. Now he had 2 people to support, Geppetto and the fairy. He slaved away, making baskets until midnight, then crawled up of his bed of straw and fell sound asleep. And as he slept, he dreamt he saw the fairy. She was more beautiful than ever. She smiled at him and kissed him gently. Then she said softly, "You're a good boy, Pinocchio. You had worked hard for Geppetto and for me in our time of need. I forgive you all your naughty past, and I promise you that if you're good in the future, you will always be happy." With these words, the dream ended, and Pinocchio woke up with a start. Everything was different. Pinocchio suddenly realized that he was no longer a puppet. He had become a real boy, just like other boys. The little cottage had become his old home, and his rags had turned into new clothes. Just imagine how happy Pinocchio felt. The fairy had kept her promise. At last, Pinocchio